Hey, guys and girls, welcome back to CinemaScenes Movie Talk. Thank you for joining me in another episode of my podcast. My name is Dee, and today's episode is going to be a little special because there's only one thing we're going to talk about. And first of all, it's not a movie, it's a TV show. And the second of all, it's one of my, I can surely say, favorite TV shows that I ever watched. And that's The Wheel of Time. So I don't even know where to begin with this show. Okay, first of all, I was planning to talk about the show after its season finale and review it as a whole and talk about it in more depth overall. But after seeing the first three episodes that were released all at once on Amazon Prime last week, they released the first three episodes, so you can watch them all together, one after the other. And it took so much mental strength in me not to talk about that because it was so good. Uh, and but I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for the season to finish, and then I can make like an episode or like a part of an episode about this, like a review. But after seeing the episode 4 this week, that was aired this week, I just broke. And just as Rand will break the wheel, I broke and I decided I have to talk about it. I just have to. And it's a really epic show. Seriously, I have never seen such a great epic fantasy book adaptation so far. There were a few great ones in the past, but this one was really special to me. And I mean, my mind was blown away with the first episode, even with the first half of the first episode when I saw it last week. But now it just I cannot. It's all I'm thinking about, and I cannot wait for another for next week to see episode 5. So we're gonna talk about today about this show, and I'm gonna dedicate the entire episode to this to the Wheel of Time. And next episode we're going to talk about a few more movies and TV shows and what's going on and what did I see and what's coming. But today we just gonna talk about the Wheel of Time because it's so special, and I'm gonna tell you why it's so special on so many levels. Just stay with me and grab a coffee or grab something to drink or a snack, and let's dive in and let's talk about the Wheel of Time. I am tempted to say that this is the best show ever based on the 4 episodes. And I know it sounds ridiculous, it's just based on the 4 episodes, but stay with me and then you will see where my mind is going and where it's coming from also. But I don't want to say best show ever because I don't want to jinx it. Remember the Game of Thrones? Yeah, me too. So I will still do in-depth review of the show and maybe talk about little bit more about characters and I don't know the story, the plot, or effects, and all the production and everything that is going on about this show when I review it about from that point of view. But because I have such a deep history with these books and this world and this epic fantasy, I have to talk about, and I have a lot to say with before the season finale with these 4 episodes in. So let's just introduce the story quickly. What is going on for all of you guys that never heard about this. It's hard to believe that some people didn't hear about the Wheel of Time, but yeah, I was one of them a few years ago. And but let's quickly just summarize what's going on and what is this show about. It is based on my favorite epic fantasy book series by Robert Jordan, The Wheel of Time. It is a complete series, so it's finished, and with a big final battle and epilogue and all of the side stories, they're all concluded and they're all complete. Unlike some other epic fantasies books that are still going on, and they're not even close to finished. I presume that the series is finished because Robert Jordan has passed away before he was able to finish it. And Brandon Sanderson finished the series on his behalf. There are 14 books in total, and from which Sanderson wrote the last or the final three in this series. So the story is set in this fantasy world that resembles, I want to say, Renaissance era. It's of the human history. It's an equivalent to Renaissance era, which is like 15th and 16th century and 17th century of this of the human history, the real human history. Although it has some technological advantages in this fantasy world that are took from later human history that came after that, as well as some from earlier periods. So it's a kind of a mix. Uh, but it's not Middle Ages as some will presume. And then so many series, fantasy book series, are set in kind of like Middle Ages type of the world. So this one is more a little bit more advanced, even though they still ride horses and castles and kings and queens and all these things that was still on. The world is divided by several kingdoms on the main continent that this story takes place. And there's a few tribes and kingdoms outside of the main continent that interact with each other, who interact with each other, and they have history, and they were in wars before, like I don't know, thousands of years ago or 100 years ago or something like that. So it's a big world. Magic is a common thing in this world, and it works as one source of magic that uses like nature elements like air and water and I don't know, fire and all these nature elements, and act like a tool in person's hands. Uh, this source it's described in books, and you can imagine it's like a big pool or like a big lake of just power, or just raw power. It you have to imagine it. It's not real. It's not you cannot see it, but it feels like that. And then there's people that can actually pull. They're born like that. They can pull from that source, and they're connected to that, and they can pull and they can wield the power, wield that force of energy. And this is the only magic, and it's very simple magic system. It's not very complicated, with so it's easy to understand. This source of power is divided actually in two. It's one is used exclusively by men, and the other one by women in this world. So men and women both are can use magic, can wield this power, but from the different sources. They're not connected, and there is thousands of men and women who are able to use this magic, to wield this power in this world. It is special, but not as much. It's not like in some epic fantasy you have like a special few wizards or people that they can do magic or they can do something with this. No, there's literally like thousands of people in this world who can use it. And there's many things that's going on with the magic system, but it's understandable. It's not complicated to understand. The story's villain is called the Dark One, and which is more like an abstract dark force, similar, like halfway there. I don't know how to explain. Similar like Sauron in Lord of the Rings. He's not in a human form, but he is real, and he's have like this huge amount of dark power that he represents. And but in the beginning of the story, he's trapped and contained in some sort of prison that keeps him out of the influence to this world. There was some in the history. There was some battles in before, and then some of the magical these magical beings, these wizards, and they call Aes Sedai and Ashamans. The men are Ashamans and women are Aes Sedai. But there are different tribes have different names for the women and men who can wield this power. So they trapped him, but now The day is coming close when it's predicted that he's gonna break out of his prison. He also have, even though he's not real, but same like Sauron, he has his flesh and blood followers that are very powerful, and they are real, and they are actually doing the fights in the book series, I'm sure in the show. The hero is foreseen to be born who will be the most powerful in magic, and he will be the only one to be able to defeat the Dark One. The story follows five young friends, two girls and three boys, who were born in the same village and close of age. They were born at the same time, and each of them is predicted to play the important role in saving the world, although only one of them is the chosen one, also known as Dragon Reborn. So, of course, the story gets much more complicated than this, but it's hard to explain without spoiling it. So it's let's just say it's not a typical chosen one trope that is used in the fantasy genre, and but it's more like Lord of the Rings, where everybody plays their part in the battle and in this story and in this defeating the bad guy or the villain of the story of the world. So even though the first book was published in 1990 and the final one 23 years later in 2013, I only discovered this series in like 2014 or 2015. I can't remember exactly, but after it's finished, it's completed, and I was looking for an epic fantasy book series that was completed to read over the winter months, and you wouldn't believe how hard it is to find that. Epic fantasy writers tend to write their series their whole life, especially if the novels become popular and start generating a big profit. They just keep writing sequels, and there's one after the other, one book after the other, coming out, and it's never done. And I really wasn't in the mood to start the series that is not finished yet. And because that's the worst feeling, everybody who reads knows, when you put your mind into some sort of the world, or doesn't matter the genre, you want to stay there as long as possible, especially if it's good. So I found this epic fantasy, The Wheel of Time, and I saw it's finished, and there was like a 14 books, and those are big books. There's 11,000 pages, you guys, 11,000 pages of this series. And I was like, good, I'm set for the winter. I just hope I'm gonna like it. So, and after I start reading the first book, I couldn't put it down. From like the first few pages, it really grabs on you, and it doesn't let go, and it's so interesting, and it's so fantastic, and it's the best fantasy I have ever read. And there are many thoughts that I have about these books and this series, and about the characters, about the stories, and there are some things that I didn't like. I wouldn't say I didn't like. I liked most of the many things, almost everything. But there's some things maybe that I would change. And like in the middle books, the story tends to go a little bit slower, but then it picks up, and but every book is very interesting. Every book is fantastic, and I could analyze it and talk about it for hours. Again, there's like 11 pages all in total in this book series, and you can imagine how much there is to say about that. And there are entire like YouTube channels and websites dedicated only to this book series, where people like talking about the plots and characters and analyze it and go into very very detailed explanations and analysis. So you can check those if you really want to know more about this series, because again, this is not a booktube channel, and this is a movie talk that includes, of course, TV shows as well. And I will focus mainly on the show, but I will have to touch up on the book references from time to time, because again, I was the one that I was the one. I wasn't the one, but I was amongst the people that read this series, and who is a huge, huge fan of The Wheel of Time. And as a huge fan, I knew this show is coming to Amazon ever since they start pre-production, and even before that there were rumors because I'm visiting these websites and these channels and these podcasts that are talking about the books. So we all knew in the community that this show is coming up, and we had our first trailer several months ago. And I have to say, I was never so nervous about a trailer like I was for this one. The Wheel of Time books are very special to me, and I didn't want this world, created in my mind with all the characters and visuals. And you know how it goes when you really uh, merge with the book, with the story, when you're reading, when you really love something. So I was afraid that it's going to be ruined, of course. And trust me, this story has so much, the Wheel of Time has so much magic and power wrote into that I was sure it cannot be translated into media like movie, or and especially not into a TV show, which by default has much smaller scope and budget to work with. So you think Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings were expensive to make? Well, you need to think again. Let just for comparison, let's say the budget for the Wheel of Time, and there's 8 episodes in this first season, is approximately $80 million. So there's like $10 million per episode that is invested in production to make this show. And in comparison, Game of Thrones, only the final few seasons, like I don't know, six, seven, eight, they had 10 or a little bit more $1 million per episode. So like those, like with the dragons and walkers and all the zombie armies and all the special effects that they have in the final seasons. Remember Game of Thrones in the first or second season, there was not much of magic and special effects. There was more like costumes and worlds, and everything was fantastic, but there was not so much spending on special effects. This show first season has the same budget as the final seasons of Game of Thrones. So that's the scope that we're talking about. So there's a lot of magic from the beginning, from the first episode, and then special effects and worlds and costumes, and it's fantastic. It's delicious. There were attempts to make the show several years ago, but Robert Jordan's widow didn't want to make it into a show, but a movie franchise, because she knew the TV budget cannot handle it, and she didn't want just to make just to make it. So it should be made properly as it is at this point. And thank God she waited. Really, they didn't want, nobody wanted to, especially at the time of Lord of the Rings and all this. Nobody wanted to do another series, and this is much more complicated because there's 14 books compared to Lord of the Rings. So it should be like a franchise, more like Harry Potter, with like, I don't know, 7 movies, than trilogy. But thank God she waited, and she didn't cave under the pressure to give this just to anyone to create a TV show or a movie, because oh my God, did the time changed in the last few years, and the TV streaming studios are the main players now with billions of dollars to invest, and now it's the perfect time. It was really the perfect timing for the show like this to be made, because now people are investing in TV shows as same as in the movies. And Sony and Amazon, who are producing this, who show this is, are not spare do not spare any penny in making this. I mean, production is all in. Episodes are almost hour long, and it feels like a movie in every frame and every aspect of it. It really does. You see the costumes and special effects and acting and the world. I cannot believe, I cannot believe that in the first season somebody was so daring to invest so much money in the show that they don't even know is it going to be successful or not. I don't know what will Amazon do with the Lord of the Rings series that they are making, and it will premiere next year. I think it should be in September, but let's see. And but even if it's half of the scope as this one, as this show, The Wheel of Time, it will be great. Really, like I was skeptical about that show as well. I'm like, how can you make Lord of the Rings TV show? You know, you need money, you need really, really, really big budget for that. And now after seeing The Wheel of Time, I'm sure they're gonna handle the Lord of the Rings series perfectly. To me and to any person who read the books that are adapted for movies or TV shows, casting casting process and actors and characters are crucial for success. If characters don't match to what we imagined while reading the books, it just sets for disappointment. And I'm sure many people will agree with me on this. And I cannot even tell you how many times, I've read the book and then I've seen the movie, and I was a little bit disappointed because of course we created these characters in our minds, and we want them to be translated into the screen as same if not identical as they are in our minds. But I was blown away and surprised when I saw what the casting for this show, The Wheel of Time, they are exactly like in the books. Like I picture them, like all of them are exactly like that. I don't know how long that casting process took for them to find all these people, or maybe makeup and but no, it's not just the makeup and costume, that they really look like they just walked from the book page, or out of my mind and into the movie set. And there was one character, only one, and there's a tons of characters there, but only one that when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's not how she looked like, and that's Nynaeve, one of the five kids, and or young people. They're not children. They're young adults, and but and then I was like, oh, that's not at all how I pictured her. And but it could be me. It's probably me. I mean, just in my mind, I picture probably in the book she is exactly like they casted her in the TV show. But I have to say, after the first episode, which that was the only flaw that I could find, the casting of Nynaeve. But the actress Zoe Robbins, that's her name, is so good in the role that not only that I don't mind that she is in it, like I actually buying it that that's who she is. And she overtook, even though in my mind Nynaeve still looks completely different, but I have no objection on her performance, or how she portrays. I even think she elevated the character a little bit. And trust me when I tell you this, if there is anyone who didn't want to like the show and was skeptical to the bone, it was me. So don't think just, I'm praising this show because I'm a fan of books. Quite the opposite. Because I was the fan of I am fan of books and this fantasy series. I am the most critical about that. And I was ready for disappointment. Like I was like, okay, just disappoint me and let's move on, and I will go back to reading books, and I'm just not gonna subscribe to Amazon Prime anymore. But in it was I I'm sure you guys will understand this, because as fan of something, it's just like in music, when you love some band, or you discover some band or some music that not many people know about, and you love them so much and you follow them passionately, their music and their work, and then suddenly overnight they become a world success, and then everybody loves them, and you're like, but yeah, I was there first, like you do not claim them, they belong to me, they were mine first. So there's a little bit of that jealousy that usually passionate fans have, and I feel like that with The Wheel of Time, because I don't think it was mine, and I'm not sure, I'm kind of selfish to share it with the world. Although the community of the Wheel of Time fans is huge, huge, and just hi to everybody out there who are true fans. But yeah, I was one of them, and trust me when I'm telling you this my impressions of these first four episodes and the show, that this is coming from the skeptical point of view. So I'm not just praising to praise. I'm telling you, this is a good show. Rosamund Pike, who plays Moraine, one of the Aes Sedai, who is one of the main women who can channel this power, uh, uh, and she's using magic. She is brilliant in the role. And Rosamund Pike is brilliant as an actress as well. I mean, all of her work is really good. And but also she is one of the producers on this show, so I can imagine that her dedication to this role and to the show and to the success of the show is very strong. Now, it's not easy to talk about this show and to review it, because knowing what I know, and I know the entire story and I read it several times, especially the final three books. Like I sometimes I don't want to go back to the first one and then read all together. Sometimes I just read the last three, which is a huge work. Let me tell you, they're like big books. The last three books, and all three are kind of like a finale, but the last one is the real battle, the entire book. So knowing all that and knowing what's gonna happen and knowing about the characters, I have to tell you there are many characters that are not in all books. So in this first season, in these first four episodes, we met a few characters that we may think they're big players in the story, but they're not. And don't get attached. That's just my advice to you. Don't get attached to all the characters blindly, because you don't want to be disappointed how as the show goes, because this epic fantasy is so huge. There's hundreds of characters, and many of the regular and crucial characters for the story are not even introduced in the show yet, and I'm not sure they're even going to be introduced in the season one. So there will be some more characters coming, and some of the current characters will be just kind of fade away, or some of them even gonna die. I'm not gonna spoil for you or anything, but just want you to be ready, because this is the scope of, even as I mentioned, Game of Thrones. Remember that one? Only five books, but even there was like main characters, they were killed off, or there's some characters that were not in the first or second season, then they just show up and they become like a crucial character for the finale of the season, or of the series, of the entire series. So it's the same thing here. So do not get attached to all the characters that you have, and all of them. And I'm telling you this because there's many characters and actors in this first four episodes that I really really like, and I know they will not be for the entirety of the series in the show. So I was like, that's too bad, that he or she, they're so good. But okay, just a heads up, guys, so you know what you're dealing with. Now let's talk about something that kind of worries me, and so I enjoy the show overall, but there is something that I'm now watching these first four episodes. I'm worried about is the scope and the length of the books, and the original the source material. So Game of Thrones, which I'm keep referring to, because if you like Game of Thrones, you will love this show, and this is kind of similar audience. But Game of Thrones had 8 seasons from 5 books, and they did from the first 5 seasons they adapted one book per season, which makes sense. And then the last three, there were no books written for that, so they kind of invented this series finale. The last 3 seasons they stretched, and that was it. So you can imagine there's 14 books of Wheel of Time, with final three books alone, who are so huge that can have like two seasons each. So my worry is about this show is that it's gonna take too long to finish this show. I mean, I don't want to wait for like 15 or 16 years to get to the final season. There is only 8 episodes of the first season, and that just book one, which is not even the long book. It's I think it's one of the shortest books in the series, and not only that, it's kind of the setup book that doesn't only fragment of the world is shown in this book, and I'm assuming in this season, in the first season, because it's just how they find them, and then introduction of characters and a little bit of an introduction of the magic system and the world, how it all works. So that's the first book, and it's very interesting. It's very interesting, and there's quite a few fights and killings and drama, and there's a really interesting plot there, but it's just like a scratch on the surface of this world and this story. The second season was already given the green light by the studio to be made, so they are kind of already in production of the second season. But honestly, I hope they will start making more episodes per season, and because I don't think maybe 8 episodes for first season and adapting the first book is kind of enough. I mean, episodes are 1 hour each, which is amazing. So they have time to explore these characters in this world. But 8 episodes, okay, I'm guessing it will be well made for the first book and reflecting the first book correctly. But for the next seasons that are coming up, they're gonna tackle more complicated and elaborate books in the series, and I don't think 8 episodes is gonna be enough. I hope they're gonna make at least like 12 or 14 or 15 episodes per season to really get the book to be reflected correctly. I want to see finale of this show in my lifetime, like honestly, and I hope Amazon will have mercy on us and then just not pull Game of Thrones and just someday rush to finish in no matter what. They're just gonna okay wrap it up and we done with the show. So and I know every studio when they have show like this that is profitable and it's getting the attention of the world and audience, of course it's in their interest to have this show as long as possible. I don't know, it worries me honestly that this I'm gonna have to wait for again 15 years or even longer to finish this series. And so I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about that, but I will enjoy if they continue with this production and with this story, and they keep the same theme that will be consistent in delivering this type of quality and this level. And of course, I'll be happy to wait for it every year. The episodes are released weekly, same like Game of Thrones and same like Disney Plus, Marvel shows and Star Wars shows. So except for the first 3 episodes, or sometimes they do, I guess because it's the first season, they need people to get the concept, to understand what the show is about. And so it will be released weekly, and I don't mind that. Honestly, I don't mind. We got a little bit spoiled with Netflix and binge watching, and I love that. I mean, um, just the Witcher, which is coming very soon. I love binge watch. Last the first season was it like 2 years ago when it was released. I love to binge watch The Witcher, and Netflix is staying consistent with their plan of just releasing all episodes at once. But and The Witcher is coming. The second season finally is coming in 3 weeks in December, and I cannot wait. I honestly, I'm so hyped about The Witcher, and I'm gonna make a weekend out of that. And it's the same weekend that when Spider-Man is coming out, So that's gonna be awesome weekend for a movie, just people who love movies and moviegoers and movie lovers and TV shows, and especially this fantasy and this scope of program. But I guess I'm not gonna rewatch the episodes of The Wheel of Time. I'm just gonna watch as they come out one time, and then I'm gonna treat myself after it's finished. I'm gonna treat myself and then make a weekend out of that as well, and just binge watch all 8 episodes at once. That's like 8 hours of great show to watch. And I'm sure that's not going to be the only time I'm going to binge watch that first season, because I've seen The Witcher several times. Like whenever I have a free time, or like I don't know what to watch, I just go back and just watch the season one of The Witcher all together. Or Game of Thrones. I don't watch Game of Thrones, to be honest, entirely from the first season, but I do binge watch like last few, maybe fifth, sixth, and seventh, eighth season. Depends how much time I have. But this is gonna be same like Lord of the Rings, that you going back to like every Christmas or winter or whenever you want, or Harry Potter. These are the stories and TV shows and movies that you will go back to it over and over again. The Wheel of Time is one of those, and I cannot wait to binge watch all over again, all the episodes. So please, guys, give it a try if you are not familiarized with the story, and I'm sure that you will love it. And if you loved Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, again, The Witcher, this is a must watch for you guys. All right. And even if you didn't love those, you can give it a try to The Wheel of Time. It is a little bit different, and but still it's in the same fantasy genre, epic fantasy genre, as these other shows and movies were. I also wanted to ask, before we finished for today, I also wanted to ask you, to anyone who didn't read the books and has no idea about the story or the characters. If you watch the first few episodes, do you know what's going on? I mean, can you pick up on all the powers and characters' relationships and the world the story is taking place in? I mean, is it understandable, or did you have to Google some of the characters and the story and the novels? I'm really curious about this, because to me it's all just natural. Like I start watching from the first episode, and I just know who these people are. I know what they can do, and the world and the bonds between them, and I just know everything. And so to me, it was an easy watch and pleasurable. But I'm very curious about the people that have no idea what's going on with the characters and with this story. Was the show simple enough? If I don't know how else to put it. Was it simple enough for you to follow, or did you have to research the show, and did it held your attention, or did you lose it because you didn't know what's going on? Also, again, real fans of the books and the series, please share your feelings. How did you like this adaptation, or these first 4 episodes of the series? And were you disappointed? Did the characters match what you uh, think of them, or how did you imagine them? Are you happy? Do you want this to continue, or do you want this to be like a short lasted series? Or do you mind waiting for 15 years to see the final season of this show? Or please share your opinions and your feelings down in the comments. And this is it for this movie talk. Again, I'm practicing to cover more movies and different shows in one episode, so it makes it interesting. But I have to say, this is again very special episode to me, and because of the Wheel of Time, is a very special story to me, and that's why I decided to talk about this whole time about just the Wheel of Time. And it will come next episode, and then episode that will come soon will be our regular episode, where we're gonna cover several movies and several TV shows in one movie talk. And but until then, okay, just thank you for listening. I will be back soon, I promise. And until the next time, please like and share and subscribe if you enjoyed this show and if you wanna hear more. Have a great time, guys and girls, and take care.